Why do you think politics keeps turning into a shouting match between the people and the experts today? You can compare two recent campaigns that took part. Recent New York City mayoral run, presidential campaign. Both of them really worked. They've got different ideologies, different goals, but weirdly similar playbooks when it comes to populism and expertise in social media. Populism isn't anything new. Social media has put it on steroids. So, at its core, populism splits the world into two groups. You've got the pure people and the corrupt elite. Doesn't really matter. The villain could be Wall Street bankers, Ivy League economists, or career politicians. The story's going to be the same. When trust in experts falls apart, populism rushes in to fill the void. And that's where we are today. It's a little bit of political judo. Instead of arguing with economists, populists flip expert caution into proof that experts just don't get anything at all. You can't trust anyone. So when somebody says freeze the rent, says make America great again, both offering what sounds like really simple moral solutions. The message is you don't need a PhD in economics to see what's wrong, just common sense and guts. If you start, let's say, locally in New York City, Mamdani's campaign was a masterclass in left populist messaging online. Promised a 4-year rent freeze, a city owned grocery network, free buses. Every single proposal spoke directly to what New Yorkers deal with every day: groceries and transit and wages and rent. And instead of burying these ideas in spreadsheets or economic jargon, he framed them as moral obligations. If experts say it's not fiscally responsible, the comeback is simple. The status quo isn't morally responsible either. His funding plan is higher corporate and wealth taxes, which sounds direct, but here's the catch. State law controls most of the tax and housing levers. A lot of his agenda sits outside city authority. But politically, that's really useful. It's going to back up the anti establishment story. Albany is blocking what the people need. Mamdani's communication style is locked into a populist framing. TikTok and Instagram, multilingual outreach. He connected directly with a younger and more diverse audience. He didn't need newspaper endorsements. He had virality on TikTok and authenticity. But there's a trade off. Rent freezes and price controls help some tenants right now, but they risk a lot of long term damage. You got maintenance decline, you end up with less new housing investment and fewer rental homes. When you treat those technical warnings as excuses instead of real concerns, the line between moral urgency and economic wishful thinking gets pretty thin. Now, the other side is a lot different. Trump's populism was done a different way, but it runs on the same engine. He built a story around national pride and personal success. Said, I made the economy the greatest in history. Now, the experts, the fact checkers, are going to argue with that, but the claim itself works like armor. When experts say that's not accurate, supporters hear the elites are just jealous. His use of tariffs and protectionism in America follow the same playbook. Big, visible moves that seem to protect American workers, even when economists warn about higher consumer prices or trade wars. Trumpism also embraces loose fiscal policy whenever it fits his narrative. Big deficits are fine if they buy big, immediate wins, like tax cuts and military spending and stimulus checks. It's a populist trade off. You get short term visibility over long term planning. And like Mamdani's campaign, it thrived on a whole bunch of conflict with institutions and courts and journalists and bureaucrats. All of them were painted as part of the same self serving elite establishment. Now, the messaging stays consistent. If experts are against us, you got to be doing something right. Both campaigns weaponized social media, and social media was happy to help. Twitter and TikTok are going to reward clarity and repetition and emotion. They don't reward complexity. On Donnie's clips felt raw and real. You got TikToks about rent and groceries that sound like your neighbor was venting about a problem. Trump's posts are pretty, I don't know, bombastic, confrontational, and you can't really scroll past it. Different tones, but they have the same structure. They're direct emotional appeal that go around journalists and analysts and economists. And that matters because the algorithms don't care if something's true, only if it keeps you watching. So trade offs like rent control actually shrinks housing supply or tariffs raise costs, that disappears. The more viral the message, the less room there is for nuance and information. Over time, voters, we all start to expect slogans. Over time, voters start expecting politics to sound like messaging slogans instead of balance sheets. Now, here's where things really start to come together. Both campaigns frame experts as the enemy. Donnie's message was that experts protect a broken economic system. Trump is saying that experts are part of a corrupt globalist elite, different villains with the same logic. When that frame takes hold, technical critique stops hitting us. If an economist says this rent freeze is going to hurt small landlords, it sounds like you're siding with landlords. If a trade analyst says these tariffs might backfire, it sounds like they're defending China. And when outcomes start to fall short, when rents don't drop enough or factories don't reopen, blame shifts to the establishments, the media, saboteur, and there's an accountability gap. Failures get reframed as proof of conspiracy instead of evidence that the policy itself needs rethinking. And without trust and expertise, fixing complex problems gets a lot harder. And without trust and expertise, fixing complex problems gets harder. There's no shared starting point for what works anymore. So, what do they actually share? Both of them share anti establishment framing and social media first communication, policies that are going to prioritize visible relief over long term complexity. But their goals are totally different. Mamdani's populism is about redistribution, tax the wealthy, freeze rents, expand public services, all gets framed as moral fights against inequality. Trump's populism is about nationalism, tariffs and sovereignty, and pride and symbolic wins, all framed as restoring greatness. Both challenge conventional narratives. Both are going to challenge conventional economics. Both are going to lean on moral clarity. Both squeeze out of the space for expert debate. So you got different ideologies, but the same playbook. And this is going to spread in elections nationwide. Modern populism, whether it's like left wing or right wing, it's going to grow out of real pain. You've got unaffordable housing, you've got stagnant wages, and institutions that feel distant or broken for all of us. But it thrives on turning those frustrations into moral absolutes instead of technical debates. Experts say trade offs exist. Populists say stop making excuses. And on social media, that moral certainty is going to win every time. The result isn't just going to be louder politics, it's politics with weaker accountability. When every setback is sabotage and every technical critique is elitism, the space for thoughtful governance falls apart. So the real challenge isn't just stopping populism, it's about rebuilding trust and expertise without losing moral urgency. Because expertise without empathy is going to feel cold, and empathy without expertise is not going to fix what's actually broken. So the question really isn't how do you stop populism? It's how do you make expertise democratic again? How do you find a way to combine moral clarity with technical honesty in a world that rewards neither? That's the conversation that you have to have, even if it's not algorithm friendly. All of these fixes have to deal with how we're communicating on social media because we don't have newspaper subscriptions anymore.